that in mind, I've stepped in and they've made this lovely, lovely image. I've never thought of myself as a superhero before, but now I have the pictorial evidence, AI generated or not, that I indeed am a superhero. Not all superheroes wear capes, they sometimes wear heels. So what am I talking about? Well, as I said at the beginning, I am Laurey, rhymes with story, which is quite apt. I used to be a journalist, used to be an English teacher at Save My Sins. I've always had this fascination with story, with communication, and with people. So before any good marketing, we have heard from some amazing experts today about marketing and how powerful it can be. But your marketing is only good if you have the right message. But equally, your message is only good if you have the right place to market it. So the two have this symbiotic relationship, they go hand in hand. But how do we make it clear, human, and impossible to ignore? Now, Paul's just given us a wonderful sort of premise into the world of storytelling and why it works. So I don't know about you, but small businesses particularly, we rarely struggle with ideas. We have lots and lots of ideas, but we actually sometimes struggle to explain those ideas in a way that make people feel. So what we're having a look at today, I will try and stay on camera. The last time I gave this speech, I managed to wander off completely. It's not theory, it's not tactics, it is just practical thinking in terms of why storytelling is so powerful. And just a quick show of hands, how many of you see on LinkedIn and maybe Instagram, like storytelling hooks to use, the best way to use story, and it's all there? No? So is this so it's new for, okay, maybe a few more hands. Maybe a little bit new for some of you, and apologies, I have not rehearsed this. I'm stuffing in last minute. There was a bit of improv, going back to my amateur dramatic years of just having a little bit of improv on stage. So lots of smiles from the audience always makes me feel great. So why does story work? Well, there is actually science to it. I know I come from an English creative background, but there is actually science to why story works. Now, it drives emotion. So the limbic brain drives emotion and it controls decision making, but it does not process language. So when we are using these wonderful statistics and these wonderful elements, we're not actually speaking to the right part of the brain. The neocortex is the cleverest part of the brain. It does handle logic and facts, but it doesn't actually make people take action. And we've heard some wonderful things today about, particularly from Paul, that was a really good lead-in, that making people feel something is really extremely powerful. We all want a sense of belonging. We want to be part of the world and the same world. We find our tribe, we find similarities when we just meet people. So Donna, we just met at the beginning of the conference, and already we bonded. We have like military husbands, we have shared passions for things. Elsie, we've just talked about fiction writing. So you find those commonalities. Now we can find those commonalities with our ideal clients as well by revealing who we are. And the limbic brain, it really is a process in that. And story is a way that we make sense and find meaning in the world. I mean, you think of the biggest question probably we'll have is, what is the meaning of life? We want to find meaning in everything, including business, including who we talk to, including who we connect with, and story can do that for us. Now, lots of marketers speak different languages to a point, but we all have one thing in common, and it's not ours. This is 2,000 years old, 2,500 years old actually. It's The Art of Rhetoric by Aristotle. It's the art of persuasion. And story is at the forefront of this. There are three parts. Now, pronunciation aside, ethos, pathos, and logos. Not the Three Musketeers. Ethos is who you are, your credibility, your values. So this is about you, because we need to know you. Who are we buying from? Who are we working with? Pathos, undecided. Think of empathy. It's all about feeling. Again, thinking to that limbic part of the brain. And logos is logic. A very important fact, I say that they ask you answer. So Marcus Sheridan, who we've referenced already this morning, definitely deals with the logic side of the brain. So all of those niche concepts that you're probably talking about in your blogs, you're answering questions, and these are all facts that your client needs to know. But before that, they need to know, well, who are you and what do you stand for? And more importantly, who am I and what do I need? So story really does turn information into meaning. It's what we're seeking. Audience become participants. You have, we talked about influencer marketing with Gymshark as well. Like, who are you? Why should I get involved with this? Want to be part of a movement more than just a business? Again, the Cycle Cafe did that brilliantly. Bless you. And then turns business into connection. It's one of the biggest things we seek as humans. We want to connect. We want to meet people like us. We want to know, like, and trust. And if anything, these are the ancient Greek principles, which Lee and I did not create. Know, like, and trust already. 2,500 years old. So we're just regurgitating things that have existed for centuries, millennia. So the buying journey has changed, and it is changing. So your audience is probably asking themselves, what's my problem really about? What kind of help actually makes sense to me at this time? You know, a lot, so we've spoken about emails and why they don't always probably make sense at a particular time. You've got to sort of be in the right frame of mind or position or in the right problem to need them. But who feels like the right fit? So most marketing answers question 3, but questions 1 and 2 sometimes get left on the shelf. So what do we need to do? We need to know their story. So when it comes to their story, we want to know a situation they're stuck in, a result that they want, and a reason they haven't moved yet. So has anyone done ideal client mapping, sort of done client avatars, given them names, where they live, how old they are? Now all of that is great, but you end up with a very specific sort of client, and we've referenced to Dave. Let's go back to Dave. Dave from London, he has a wife and 2 kids, and he earns this much a year, and this is the sort of car he drives, and that's good. It's a great start, but you're talking more demographics there than anything else. Actually, we want to know how he feels. What is his problem as well? We need to speak specifically to that, because when we do, and then a piece of content or something that we talk about hits that, he's like, oh, they're talking to me, directly to me. And again, you have that personal journey that you start. Again, a lot of our speakers have already talked about it, because marketing does the same thing. We are wanting to appeal to the human, we want to connect, we want to make their life easy, but we also want to show that we can be trusted to actually solve what that pain is. And if we're speaking to them and we know their story, then they can feel confident that we can actually solve it. This might be quicker than 38 minutes, so we can have lots of questions. But you also need to know your story. And this isn't anything egotistical. This isn't about sharing everything that your audience doesn't want to know. But as we said, you will find commonalities within your audience. So we've heard people refer to the legal profession as dry. It is only dry in the sense of, I'm going to go all the way back, logos, maybe all the facts that we need to share and things that, statistics perhaps as well. So that's probably the dry, because there's lots of statistics. You talk, dare I say the word jargon, because that is what we deal with. So how do we humanise that? How do we make that relevant to our audience? So actually, you're not dry, because you're you, and you're amazing, and you're awesome, and you've all got lives. And you've all experienced it, and you have lived experience. You started the business or you work for a company for a very specific reason, and there's a story in that to share. It isn't just about the problems you can solve, it's why you want to do it. Now, will Simon Sinek start with why? Have we heard of? Yes? Ethos. It's a whole book of ethos, effectively. But what you start with why, that reason in you that you have ended up where you are. A lot of people say, oh, I just landed in it. I just ended up doing it. I walked out of uni and didn't quite know what I wanted to do. But there'll be something deeper. You can dig deep. There's a story in there. The reason it can sometimes feel difficult and uncomfortable when we're looking at our story is we sometimes think it isn't Hollywood enough. That's going to be a really gurning face one, Paul. That's going to be us, definitely grimacing. We think we need a Hollywood blockbuster. When we talk about our own story, it needs to be worthy of a Netflix documentary, or it needs to have some deep-rooted tragic origins or trauma. No. There's extraordinary in your ordinary, and it's that people will connect with. The very fact that I'm a military wife, we've had a chat about, it's not extraordinary to us, but it might be to other people. I used to be a teacher, I share that one. And that is extraordinary. I got out of my brain and sort of sanity-ish. And I was a journalist. So there's that journey. No one else, well, very few people will have that lived experience journey. And you tap into it because you have a very specific set of skills. That is not a reference to Liam Neeson. But your story actually isn't about you. Spoiler. It is about them. It's a mirror. So although you're sharing elements of your character in your story, people will see themselves in you, and where those similarities align, that's where the connection happens. Because again, as humans, we are born to want to find our tribe. We're a bit paradoxical. We want to belong to a tribe, but we want to be individual as well. So how do we marry the two? And story is that bridge. They want the recognition from you that you get it, that you understand, that you alone can help them with, the pulling the chair up to the bed and really talking about that personalised plan. It all involves in this, in the story. Perhaps Dr. Sin had a story himself, which is why he actually goes above and beyond to give that service. He's paying it forward. We don't know. We'd have to sit down and interview him, but actually if he was running a business, that might be the story that he tells. Trust, they've been there, they get it, they understand. There's that empathy, it's all about that pathos. I understand you, I see you. And when your client feels seen, then it's almost a no-brainer that they'd want to work with you. Not only do they recognise themselves in what you're talking about, they connect with a part of you. And it feels right. And it's that feeling that is truly powerful. Maya Angelou, several of you will know this quote. I don't always remember what you said. I might not always remember what you did, but I will never forget the way you made me feel. This is a concept that me and my husband talk about. My husband's very logically minded. He's military. You get the idea of where my husband's at. I am full of emotion. I won't remember what he said. I won't remember what he did, but I remember exactly what I was wearing and how I felt at the time, which is really unhelpful if you're having sort of discussions and arguments and compromise. I'm like, I just remember I felt like this. Really unhelpful. But I do remember that. I won't always remember the words that we used or what we discussed. So how can you make your client feel positive in a way that they won't forget? Sending bars of chocolate, sending personalised postcards, really sitting down and making that personalised, making sure that they felt that relief that someone finally understood it in a way that it had never been explained before. So you will have stories that you can share that aren't from trauma, that aren't from anything Hollywood blockbuster worthy, but where you came from, your origin story. Why did you start doing what you do? It might be insignificant to you, but actually it's not. That's the good stuff. It's the good stuff we leave off the table. What are your values? What do you stand for? What are your non-negotiables? That's all about your ethos, who you are as a person. Because you're not dry legal jargon, you are a human being and there's a lot more to you that you could share. Now, I do respect that probably sometimes in your profession you may be bound by what can actually go through approval. I've had a conversation with an accountant recently that if you're FCA accredited, that actually there's limitations on potentially what you can put out there. But can you be stopped from talking about who you are and why you do what you do? Values are very important. And another storytelling concept that comes from this, and I keep on quoting you, Paul, quite a lot. It's really handy that you came up before me, is show, don't tell. You don't want to tell your audience that we give 5-star service or we have integrity and we're really honest. You need to show your audience and your clients that you have those values, because actually, otherwise it's just words. You need to make them feel it. Your mission, what is it you're building? What's the change you're creating? Everybody can get behind a movement. So if there's something new in your industry that you're tackling or wanting to change or champion, let them know, because people want to be part of that, and that might be the value set that someone connects with. So you can be different. We might all do the same thing, but there'll be something that makes you different, and it's you. You've all heard, you make yourself unique. So tap into that. Your stories are a great source. The turning points, the moments that everything shifted. What changed your direction? Do you have anything in your bank of storytelling that you could draw upon? It could have happened in childhood, university, it could have happened last week. There's no timeline on change or growth or mission, personality, connection. Daniel Priestley, seeing as I'm a huge fan, does say, get your phones out and go through the last sort of 2-3 years of photos and pick out moments in there that you could actually talk about, because that's how you can remember where you've been, what you've done, who you've spoken to. It's a great way of looking at content. It could form great email marketing to talk to your clients about who you are, what you've done, and why you're doing it. That isn't just, here's an email, I want to sell you something. It's more, it's about the connection. It's about, as Nathan said, that those emails that pop into your inbox that you want to read because you're connecting on a different level. So the story-led content rhythm sounds really fancy. It's not really. There are 4 types of content, in my opinion, that matter. And that's the connection content, the I see you content. That's the stories about your ideal client, about how you understand them, where they are, their pain points, what's keeping them up at 3 a.m, what do they wake up in a hot sweat about. When you can really nail that problem or problems, and you can create content around that, that is when your ideal clients could feel seen. And with everything about writing wills, etc., there's lots of topics that have been discussed today, but you'll know these because you actually hear them from the horse's mouth. So what is it that you could talk about more and how you solve it? The next one is the shift, the belief shift. Now this is a great storytelling concept that every character in every novel has a misbelief. They have something that needs to be changed. Not necessarily about them, but a worldview that they have, and you're here to do that for them. There's an amazing book that if you haven't read, it's called Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. Grab the audiobook, this is the first 5 chapters and you're pretty much there. But it is talking about the hero's journey, that every hero needs a guide. Now quite often we place ourselves in our businesses as the heroes because we think we're running the business, we're doing the work, and I am the hero. I mean, I was wearing a cape about 5 slides back. But I am not the hero, I am the guide. I am the Hermione Granger to Harry Potter. Sometimes I sound like her as well. I can't think of any other references. There's some Star Wars ones in there. Can I be Yoda? I can be Yoda to Luke. I am small enough, and I'm sure I could be a little green. So you want to be the guide. The guides have always been there before. They've done it, and they're helping the hero succeed. So you need to see yourselves as the guides rather than the heroes. You need to shift belief. You need to make it possible enough for them to achieve a transformation, which is the other part of the concept and story. There's always a transformation. So what is it, the transformation? It's usually a status change from either recognition or material just status. So what shift are you actually helping your hero create? Identity, this sounds like either self-identifying content, again talking about problems that they're facing, and then educational. And I spoke about educational earlier. Nathan, you touched on it quite a bit. Actually, we need to add value. We need to show them that, if this is what we're going to give to them for free, what does the paid stuff look like? Actually, you can solve a lot of problems. Not everything has to be a monetary transaction. You can actually give a lot of educational value. And then your lead magnets, obviously, are a great way to introduce them to that step of how you can solve that. So they're the 4 types of content. It's just a rhythm. It's not restrictive. There are lots of different content strategies you can have, but all of those can include storytelling. What do I mean when I say storytelling? There are different patterns. There's like the mirror moments, the light bulb moments. I have a list. If I haven't got a card, but you could get in touch with me. I should create an email, shouldn't I? Saturday storytelling. Sign up and I'll let you know all about it. Grab my card at the end. In terms of what the storytelling structures can look like to get across what your client is feeling, how they can be transformed, because that's what we buy into. And people won't remember what you've said, but they'll remember how they felt. And if it's a good feeling, then they're going to want to come back for more. And this does work anywhere. LinkedIn, Instagram, sales pages, within a team. Never underestimate the power of story within a team dynamic as well. Getting everybody on the same page and moving towards the same goal. Thought leadership. A lot of people work for firms, but there are some individuals who do work on their own. So you'll have your own personal brand as well as a business brand, but all of this will work within that because it is, again, the power of human connection. If a human reads it, then stories will work. So what makes this possible? When you know your story and their story, that's what makes it possible. You know what to say and why it matters. People care. People want to open an email. People want to have a chat with you. People know that you get it. Confidence, people trust your voice. People trust that you have something to say that is truly valuable and that's going to help them. Because remember, golden rule of copywriting is people don't care about you, they care about themselves. But they might want to see you in their story and their journey, but every person is thinking, what's in it for me? How am I going to benefit from this? It's human nature. And consistency, again, seen that word again on the screen, you've seen it earlier this morning, that you can show up without second guessing yourself, because actually when you appear everywhere, like Tom does on socials, you remember his face, you remember that he was posting. I should get my phone and do a selfie. Because when you see people more than once, and again, to quote Daniel Priestley, we need to spend about 7 hours in someone's company to really trust them. So if you are doing things like videos and blogs and shorts and all of the different elements that you can have in socials, then people are going to trust what you have to say. So having a book is a really great way to spend time with someone or for them to spend time with you. Apologies for all the text on the screen. This is essentially saying that you stop feeling like you need to be everywhere. If your messaging has a spine, which is you know your story, what you're communicating, and you also know the pain points and the stories that you're telling about your ideal clients, then you don't have to feel guilty about posting too much or not doing enough, for second guessing. You don't feel generic either. Who sometimes feels that they're posting a little bit bland and generic because they're just posting for content's sake. Can feel like that. Here's an AI word. It's very noisy out there on the digital platform, but actually you can show up just being yourself. Harder than it sounds. As humans, we're always criticising how we maybe be showing up, but you can only be you. So do show up. So there is a bridge to AI here. So Tommy, you had a great presentation on AI, and it is happening. It's happening now, and if we're not going to jump on the AI train, then we are going to be left behind. There is a bit of a debate, isn't there, about AI and using AI and being authentic. We see this word a lot about being authentic, and maybe the use of AI, the clue is in the name, artificial intelligence, makes us feel that we're not being authentic. But I could walk to London. I don't know why I would, but I could, and I'd get there, and I wouldn't be in those heels earlier, that's for sure. I'd be in a very specialist trainer, but I'd still get there absolutely, excuse my language, knackered. I'd probably look terrible, I'd be shattered, and I'd be in no fit state to talk to an ideal client. Or I could get on the train, and in an hour 20 from here at Northgate, I could be in London, full of energy, full of beans, ready to deliver to more than one client. It's not inauthentic, it is just a faster way of getting to where you want to go. But the key is human foundations. The reason I think there's a lot of perceived danger or inauthentic content with AI is because people are asking the wrong questions. They're just using the prompts of write me a post on and how AI works, and we have an expert here to go and back this up, as it trawls the internet for what's already been written. So it isn't necessarily what you think. That's why it can come across as one being phrased the same, and also it's the same content that everyone's putting out there. But if you do the human foundations, and you know who you are, and you know your values, and you know your ideal client, and you know their story, and you know their pain points, and you know what keeps them up at night, actually, you can start being really, truly specific. And when you give that to AI, it will create something completely different and more unique to you. And always proofread it. Always go in and add your level of, I was going to say spice. That's not what I mean. Personality. Add your personality in there. How do you talk? What sociolect dialect do you have? You know, we're northern. Some of us are. There's a lady from Surrey who's not back in the room. But what do we say? How do you sound when you speak? Can we add any of that in there? You can train AI to sound like you, but it always deserves a human pass. 20% human input, 60% AI, and then you proofreading it at the end. It is a good way, because not everyone is a gifted writer, so there should be no guilt about using AI. I know that there will be constraints for the legal profession of how you use it with other elements, but when it comes to communicating who you are and who you want to work with, I think it can be a really valuable tool. So you don't need to remember any of this, not really. There's lots of tools out there that can help you. You don't need to memorise content types or perfect frameworks, and you don't need to be a full-time content creator. Who feels the pressure to be a full-time content creator sometimes within their business, along with all the other hats that they have to wear? So it can become a little bit draining. But actually, if there are tools and systems that we can use to make content easier, then let's use them. You just need a tool that holds your story and your client's story. So AI isn't the enemy. A lot of people do diss AI, but it's just because we haven't done the human work first. So it is as simple as just doing the human foundations. So AI is a problem when it's generic, hollow and flat because everyone sounds the same, so content becomes a little bit beige. I'm calling it LinkedIn vanilla, and I might trademark it. It does become, you can hear the patterns in AI, and I'm torn as well, because do I then distrust the content? Because I use AI, but I'm a writer, so I find it very easy to edit. Who distrusts content that they feel has been generated by AI? Just completely dismisses it. What about AI images then, as well, in videos? Because we've seen that amazing video of you, that was genius. Thought a bit of Vin Diesel in there as well at the beginning. I was like, very good. Because people are going to be using avatars, but would we trust an avatar? So how do we make our content really stand out? Now, there is no replacement for lived experience. AI cannot create that. So when you're using your lived experience and your stories, you are creating a personal brand that only you can create, because it's you, and you can't fake what you've lived. Yes, you might get a little bit of help writing it, but that's okay. We've had lots of AI. I think it's just because ChatGPT has become a really prevalent thing. But we've had Grammarly, for goodness knows how long people were using that. My goodness, what did people do 20 years ago? They outsourced to copywriters or marketing agencies. Is that not the same? So you can actually use AI, but make it yours. But give it a human voice, give it your lived experience, give it your values, your ideal client psychology as well, and it can be really, really powerful. So you do need to clarify who you are and who your ideal client is before you amplify it, and that is where our AI really is powerful, and I am a lover of it. I am a lover of AI. And that really, really is the end. But I'll go into why I'm a lover of AI. What I've created with StoryLed is my brain. I have created an AI agent which only works when you are in it. So if you can do the human foundations first, you can layer that into AI and ask for content, and it will create it for you when you know what you're asking for. So you should never run out of ideas or email campaigns or even lead magnets, because it's all there. Now you do need to refine it. I would always have that as a caveat, have that as an asterisk there, always give it a human proofread. I know somebody who puts in typos on purpose to make it look more human, but me being a perfectionist would never want typos, but add your level of personality in there, typos and all. So I am 18 minutes ahead of schedule, but this could mean a longer coffee break or more questions. So does anyone have any questions? And then you can connect with me on LinkedIn and have my website if you wish. Does anyone have any questions on story?